Hey, Shannon, can you hear me okay?
Hear you fine. You're a little far away though.
I am? Okay, I can pull it closer.
Okay.
Or I think it's easier just to zoom in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like how your outfit matches your eyes.
Oh, you never know what's going to show up on the. Well, you look good in blue too, so is that better?
Yes, just better. Yeah. And also yeah, that's much better. And your voice, can you get the microphone? Let's see.
I guess I'm just going to have to move it closer.
Okay. Oh my.
Yeah, we have a little zoom button thing, so. All right, I'm a little closer. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm working on getting the slideshow to rotate. Let's see if it will go. I think I tried this one. Now, how things work, it'll go. Can you see that
I can
slide?
see a slide and I can see us on the right.
Okay. And it's not rotating, so I have to set that up better. Let's see. All right. Slideshow. Kiosk 23. Let's see if it's going to slide or not. It's always hit and miss, and I don't know what I do wrong with these slides.
If I had any insight, I'd tell you, but I have really no idea.
Yeah. We've got over 50 people. I cannot get over that.
That's great.
Yeah, because you just never know. Sometimes you think you've got a really good presentation and 25 people register and 10 show up.
Yeah.
And so I figure about 40 will show up. Okay, so that is not rotating either. What irritation.
Now, when I see it, it's landscape. It looks fine.
Yes, but I also have, I'll show you what else I have here. See, I have that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have that. I love that picture of you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That was at our 50th anniversary party. We actually had a professional photographer work that party for us. So
you can tell. My goodness, that's a good
it was he did a great job. So
yeah. So anyway, I would like to rotate those 3 slides. And in a perfect world, I've even got that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. I got to figure it out. Automatic slideshow. See what that does.
What are you wanting it to do different? Because it looks,
Well, I want it to
Fine to me.
rotate. It's supposed to rotate these 3 slides automatically without me telling it to do anything. And sometimes I get it to work and sometimes I don't. Okay, see, like, there I'm setting the parameters. And
it looks fine.
well, thank you.
I don't see anything amiss, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it one more time. Let's see if we go like this. If it works. Maybe see it. Okay, now that I've got it set for it to work, it's not doing it. And I'm doing something wrong. I just don't know what. And I see there's a chat button here. Somebody's chatting. Tyler, could you unmute me? Oh, and allow me to open my video. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see if that. Okay. Appears to be your end. Let's see, if he is not muted over here, you're not muted here. It says host is allowing participants to unmute and that video is disabled. Video is disabled. Okay, so he's going to log off and log back on. Let's see what he gets.
It looks like John got on okay, so.
Here comes Barrie. Let's see if we can get Tyler again.
There we
Hey, okay,
There he
I
is.
just had to log out and back on. That helped.
great. Okay, so as usual, I'm having some trouble with my sharing on the slides. They're not rotating. I never know what's going on there.
It looked okay to me when I first logged on and was muted. I could see the slide and it looked okay.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, and one does. I've made 3 slides though, and I can't get it
Oh,
to
okay.
rotate through. And there's just something I'm not doing right in the setup, and I have yet to figure that out. Drives me bananas.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hello,
Hi, Shannon. This is Barrie Hall.
nice to meet you.
You too? So I'm coming in loud and clear?
Yes, you are.
All right, that sounds good. Well, I'm going to just kind of turn my video off and sit off to the side and wait for the meeting to kick off then.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We're just kind of working through a few little details here and waiting for the audience to hop on. So,
Sounds good.
yeah, as you know. Okay, just hop on when you hear us talking more.
All right, I'll be standing by.
Okay.
So John, do you say anything at the beginning, or am I the one that kind of kicks it all off?
You kick it off and just welcome everybody and let them
Yeah,
know that we've got a great program today with some very interesting fellows, and they'll have plenty of opportunities to ask questions after we get some briefings from our 2 guests. And so that's it. And then you know, at the very end, we want to let folks know that we will be planning on having a meeting in September, and we are, you know, strongly considering the possibility of doing that meeting in person, which we haven't done for over a year. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, September will be our final meeting of the year because we'll have the Edge Awards in November in place of the growth mobility. So
All right.
and if we do, if we get to the point where both Barrie and Bill have made their presentations, and then they've taken questions from the audience, and then you've asked any of the questions that are on that list that haven't been asked, then if you want to, you can turn it over to me. I can do a real quick economic development update. Frankly, there's not a whole lot to talk about right now, but I can do that, and then I can open it up for anybody that wants to ask some questions about, you know, economic development in general, or maybe even, you know, specific companies and things of that nature. So, if we do have some time left on the end, that's an option to go to.
Okay.
How are you, Tyler? Can't hear you.
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. You look very prosperous today.
Yes, sir. It's a good day. So,
Still some money in the bank?
too much money. We can't loan that fast enough.
All right. I know some people that need some desperately.
Well, I'd like to talk to them.
Tyler, do you have a date set when all of the bank people are going to be back in the office, or?
It's here. Everybody is back. Well, I take that back. A few of our processors are still working from home because they don't all have individual offices. They share cubicles. So They've been a little more cautious, but I'd say 98% of our employees are all back.
Okay, okay, so you're at the office right now. I
Yes, sir.
couldn't tell whether you were there at the house or at the office, so.
No, sir, I'm at the office.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, we're experimenting with kind of a hybrid thing, and we've been in it a couple of weeks. I think we're going to maybe give it a couple more weeks, but the idea is that folks would kind of split their time about 50-50 during the week. If they wanted to work remote, say a day or an afternoon or a morning or something, we just, put it on the master calendar and go from there. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, a lot of the things that we do, we have to be there. But we do a lot of kind of analysis and paperwork and emails and phone calls and stuff like that, we don't necessarily need to be in the office. So.
Right.
It's a brave new world. I'm talking to a lot of companies though that are saying, hey, we're hiring. A lot of our people are telling us that they've got an offer from somebody else to work 100% remote, and we're not going to do that. And what a mess out there in the workforce area.
Absolutely. I've heard the same things.
Shannon, I like your title, Update on Richardson's Most Dynamic Companies.
Well, there you go. I just wish it would turn. Damn it. Oop, pardon my French. Yes. I'm really interested to hear about Fujitsu. I don't really know much about what they do at all.
Well, you're probably like about, 85-90% of the audience. So I'm sure Barrie will shed some light on that.
Yeah, back a few years ago, people always used to confuse us with Fujifilm. We'd talk about our blimp and things like that. So yeah, we're a little bit different. So
yeah, Barrie, assume naturally for your remarks that the audience knows nothing. Okay.
Right. No, definitely. Yeah, before I joined Fujitsu, I worked for AT&T, and when you'd call a vendor or someone and you'd tell them you were from AT&T, you could almost hear them sit up straight in their chair and go, "Oh, AT&T." And I came to Fujitsu. I'd call somebody and say, "Well, I'm Barrie Hall from Fujitsu." And they'd go, "Who?"
How long have y'all been in Richardson?
Actually, we've been here in Richardson since the mid 80s.
Oh my.
And we've been at this location at Shiloh and Renner since 1989. So we've been part of the community for a long time.
Wow. So I guess y'all go over that in the presentation and everything.
Yeah, we'll talk to it. And, hopefully by the end of it, people have some idea what we actually do here.
Yeah. All right, well, it's 11:54 by my clock. I hope they start hopping on.
I think we had about 50 RSVPs, so there'll be some attrition, but we should, end up with 40 plus, hopefully.
Yeah.
does seem like it's kind of a point of virtual meetings to join no more than 60 seconds before the scheduled start time. So
Yeah. They're coming in now.
during the discussion, do you plan to have the cameras on?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
everybody will see everybody. And
Okay.
normally when we're in person, we usually introduce the audience, have the audience members stand up and introduce themselves too. Makes it a more personal experience. And it always takes a good 15 minutes because we usually get about 50 people in that room. See, I'm also looking for our other panelists. I know that he was communicating. He should be here. Oh, here he is right now. Bill Sheddrick.
Hey, Bill. There he is. Hey, Bill. How are you doing this morning? You're muted, of course.
Here. How about now?
That's
Oh.
good. That's good. We can see it. So do you by chance know Barrie Hall with Fujitsu?
I don't actually.
Yeah, I don't believe we've met. So how are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. Hey, Barry.
You guys ought to have lunch sometimes. You got a lot of similar things going on.
Yeah, we could geek out over all of the industry stuff.
Sounds good. Where's your office, Bill?
We're on Arapahoe, near Central Expressway.
Okay.
So if you blink, you'll drive past it, but we're like a block deep. So we have a small front, but a very deep building, and we have a 6-inch MEMS wafer fab in the Richardson site.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing what they've done inside that facility. I mean, if you've ever driven by it, it looks kind of the same that it always has, but boy, you step inside and it is the newest, nicest manufacturing facility that I've seen lately. It's very impressive.
Sounds like it.
I'm going to start letting people in. Okay, y'all can continue to talk if you want. I don't think it's a problem.
Okay.
But we've got about 11 people in the waiting room for now, so.
All righty. Okay.
And then just, I know we both had kind of a summary slide. Do we just steal the screen when we want to do that?
Yes, you should be able to share it, and I'll
Okay.
make sure that you can.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. Y'all each have the share button down at the bottom.
I see it. Yep.
Okay. Or at the top, maybe depends where it is.
Well, I see a lot of familiar faces. There's old Bob Kronbach, Jenny Mizatowicz, Bill Scheid. Janet, good to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yep. John Beatty, good to see you.
Hi, John. Yeah, it's good to be back.
You know, we have about 50 registered for today. There'll probably be some attrition, but really pleased with the interest in the program today.
I'd say we wait about another minute and then we can get started. See if anybody else. We've got 27 so far. Okay, I've got 12:02 now. Do we want to go on?
Yeah, we can get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Richardson Chamber Growth and Mobility Luncheon. I am Deborah Carroll, one of the tri-chairs for the I'm getting a little feedback. Is everyone else hearing me okay? Okay. I'm Deborah Carroll from Blaine Garvey CPAs here in Richardson, Texas, and I am one of the tri-chairs for the Growth and Mobility Luncheon. There's a couple of other, my other two tri-chairs are with me, and that is Tyler Farrer of Texas Bank and Trust, and we're also welcoming Dan Warfield of Half and Associates, so welcome. Our sponsor today is Texas Bank and Trust, so thank you for your sponsorship. What we're going to be talking about today and who we're going to be talking about is an update on Richardson's most dynamic companies. And today we have with us Barrie Hall. He's the Senior Vice President of Fujitsu Network Communications. In his role, he leads manufacturing, supply chain planning, procurement, logistics, quality, and repair functions. And he has worked for about 26 years in supply chain. And I think before all the pandemic, we probably thought supply chain was important, but I think recently all of us probably feel like it's even more important. And through he's worked there for 26 years, leading supply chain, and has also won many awards through their innovation and the things that they put together there. He has his BSc in mechanical engineering from the University of Missouri, and his MBA from Rockhurst University in Kansas City. And he's also a member of the University of Texas Dallas Supply Chain Management Industry Advisory. So thank you, Barrie, for being here today. Our other speaker is Bill Sheddrick from Honeywell here in Richardson, and he manages the North American production sites for Honeywell and what they call the Sensing and Internet of Things business. This has a lot of applications in different industries, such as industrial transportation, medical devices, and defense applications. He started in the business doing research and development in a wafer fab and microassembly technology. So I think we all know a little bit about that here in Richardson. And his passion is making things happen and seeing the results of a well-run manufacturing environment. His current role as Senior Operations Director at Honeywell, he's been there for more than 5 years, but in this role, he's been there for about 5 months. And I noticed that in that, he has been able to turn around this Sensing and Internet of Things business from a to making a profit where in the last year it has not. So his background as well as helping us with supply chain and making sure things run well. He is, I think I read correctly that you're a University of Texas at Dallas graduate with
That's
a
correct.
BSc in
Yep.
electrical engineering. So kind of
That's
a
right.
hometown boy.
Homegrown. Yeah, homegrown.
So welcome to each of you, and we appreciate your time today, and we are looking forward to hearing what's going on at Fujitsu and Honeywell. Barry, do you want to start?
Sure thing. Thanks, Deborah. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to be here today. Share a little bit of information about Fujitsu. Are you able to see this screen, this slide?
Not yet, Barry.
Any luck? I'll just talk to it. So Fujitsu Network Communications is a wholly owned subsidiary of Fujitsu Network Communication, or of Fujitsu Limited in Japan. Fujitsu Limited is about a $40 billion information and technology company. Fujitsu Network Communications is proud to have been a part of the Richardson community since the mid-'80s. We've been located at our campus at basically Shiloh and Renner Road since 1989. The products and services that we provide to our customers really make up much of the communications infrastructure here in North America. Historically, most of our equipment has been optical transmission equipment, but actually in the past year, we're really making a big splash in the 5G radio market. Our customers are really the who's who in the communications market. AT&T, Verizon, and more recently, Dish Networks are our largest customers, but we also sell to a lot of municipalities and various smaller corporations that have communications needs. Here in Richardson, we employ just over 800 people, and we're really happy to be here. So back to you, Deborah.
Bill, do you want to give us a little bit about Honeywell?
Absolutely. All right, let me see if I have any better luck here. Sharing. Let me know if you can see this.
Yes, we're good.
All right, good deal. So I do lead Sensing and Internet of Things. We have rebranded, which is kind of par for the course, if you will, in industry. So we're actually now the AST organization, Advanced Sensing Technologies, which is a global business enterprise that's part of Honeywell. So AST is approaching $1 billion business that makes sensors, right? And we make sensors for all sorts of things, but we're aligning to 4 verticals in particular. We're making sensors for aerospace and defense and transportation systems, healthcare, which we'll talk a lot about during the pandemic. That's really one of the things that opened our eyes as Honeywell and the challenges that we had during the COVID pandemic was the healthcare sensing that we did, industrial sensing, and then logistics sensing. And logistics, think about all the barcode reading that you do. Honeywell is really big, has a big footprint in some of the distribution centers in terms of Amazon's, Walmart's, USPS, and we're making the sensors that read all those barcodes, right? Either in handheld devices or as boxes are flying past on different distribution systems. The Richardson plant that's on Arapahoe Road, we have about 150 manufacturing individuals there, And then we also have our leadership team for the AST. It is our AST headquarters. And there's about 100 leadership positions there, including our business president, Sarah Martin. It's one of 14 sites worldwide. I manage 6 of those sites that are in North America and, including Mexico. And you see some of the numbers there. We've got a sensing legacy, lots of patents, lots of cool technology. Hopefully you've seen some of the Honeywell ad campaign out there, making the future happen. We're doing some of that development right here in Richardson, Texas. And it's pretty exciting, some of the things that we're coming up with in terms of sensor technology. Okay,
Thank you, Bill.
back to you. Yep.
Well, one of the questions that we have is, how was your business affected by the pandemic, and then did it contract or did it thrive? Bill, do you want to start with that one?
Sure, I'll take it first. I don't know how to get off of the screen, so if you want to steal it back, you can. So like I had mentioned, one of the things that we rebranded and aligned ourselves to was our healthcare and sensing vertical. And what happened in particular in the Richardson wafer fab, we had a big slowdown in aerospace and transportation, and we were looking at maybe even having to furlough people or maybe even go to reduced shifts. But our sensing technology is very widespread in respirators and in oxygen concentrators, ventilators, and our business took off on that in that vertical. We were at 500% our run rate on those particular parts. So we actually got busier during the pandemic, and we found customers that we didn't even know we had, right? So there was a big call to action worldwide on ventilators in particular. We had Ford Motor Company trying to make ventilators. GM was trying to make ventilators. And what was happening as they were going down and looking through that bill of materials, there's Honeywell sensors throughout. So we had Ford calling us, GM calling us, all kinds of different people looking for those ventilators. The team here really stepped up. We are a 24/7 operation, and we were able to cut our lead times and make those deliveries. We thought we would take 12 weeks to cover all of the demand, and we caught up in less than 8. So there was really a big call to action for our site in particular on medical devices.
Well, that's amazing that y'all could pivot that quickly. So congratulations. What about you, Barry?
It's been a roller coaster for us. Going back to the spring of 2020, the initial big impact took place when most of the country shut down and we began work from home, learn from home. At that point, remember, our customers are delivering communication services to all of us. So chances are right now, many of us are receiving the content of this meeting today via Fujitsu equipment at one point or another. And so when all of this learn from home and work from home kicked off, our customers had a lot of questions about how well would their networks hold up under that unprecedented demand. So the initial response from our customer base was to place large orders on us so that they could be 100% sure that if they needed additional capacity in their networks, they'd have the equipment to deliver. But as the weeks went by, it became apparent that our customer networks were holding up pretty well. So that initial surge in demand actually went away, and our customers went into inventory reduction mode, which caused a significant decrease in our demand through most of the rest of calendar 2020. But then as we entered into calendar 2021, we started to see a lot of profound supply chain shortages on virtually every commodity from semiconductors to things as simple as tape and cardboard. And so all of us have felt that, including our customers. So as a result of that, we've been collaborating with our customers to get more visibility into what their actual needs are going to be for communications infrastructure. And our customers are supporting us by providing longer lead time orders than what they've done in the past. But there is business right now is really good for us and really strong. And we look forward to that continuing.
Well, I think you kind of answered our second question about the supply chain. Bill, do you have anything to add about how the supply chain has affected you?
Yes, I had a full head of hair a year ago and now I don't. So our supply chain is, so we are a global company. Our supply chain is global and we ran into all kinds of issues and we continue to run into them, where local governments will shut down supply or shipping. So it has really opened Honeywell's eyes to kind of redouble its efforts to localize that supply chain. We make very complex products, and when we started mapping the supply chain that we had, it's pretty incredible, with North America sending things to China, sending things back to North America, and then sending them to Mexico. Well, that's not going to work when you can't get, parts on a plane, or there's restrictions on import, or even, some of our India and Malaysia factories were shut down for extended periods of time. So I think it's really driven an idea of localizing. Post-pandemic, as we were coming out of this pandemic, and we ran into some of the same issues as Fujitsu, where some of our customers started burn down inventory plans, where they really stopped ordering for a large period of time. And we also saw this with suppliers. One of the things that really impacted us, and we're still feeling it today, is the snowpocalypse that Texas had, right? We use a lot of thermoplastics. We use a lot, and that's requires resins from the Gulf Coast. That supply is severely limited, and in fact, many of those suppliers are under force majeure even today, as a result of that winter storm. And then, of course, the electronic components are also affecting us. So our supply chain has extended quite a bit, and we are taking on additional inventories to try and mitigate that. We're going back to our customers, asking for additional orders well into the future so that we can plan to those suppliers well into the future. But the supply chain shortages were not just isolated to the pandemic, they're continuing today.
And do either one of y'all kind of see any end in sight, or is it just going to be the status quo for a while?
For me,
go ahead.
Well, from my perspective, we're not seeing any signs that the shortages are going to be reduced in the near term. There's so much demand, and there's just not enough supply for just about everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fueling even more buying, because people are trying to lock in supply in the future. So it's a pretty vicious cycle right now that I think is going to make it very difficult to get these shortages to go away anytime soon.
Yep. We're working on our second half planning right now for second half of this year, with the assumption that we'll only get 70% of what we ask for key supply, right?
And Bill,
we think that'll continue to the end of the year.
And Bill, y'all are making the chips, the wafer chips there as well, right?
Yep, we make chips here. So these are MEMS. So when you talk about IC shortages in the world, that's not us. Please do not come knocking on my door. I don't make integrated circuits for that. We make MEMS sensors. And these are environmental sensors that are used as the detector in our sensing applications.
We want to make sure that we cover that. So,
Yeah, yeah, but
if-
we, but the shortages that are going on through the industry for IC, everyone's gobbling up supply. We are starting to feel that in our industry, right? With chemicals, a little bit with silicon and just, capacities with some of these key suppliers.
And if I could just kind of add a little bit to our tale relative to supply chain, recall that the pandemic really kicked off in January of 2020 in Wuhan, China. And all of us are very familiar with Wuhan for that reason. But those of us in optical communications were familiar with Wuhan well before that. That is actually a center for optical technology here in the world. So a lot of our optical suppliers are headquartered in Wuhan. So when the virus blew up in Wuhan and Wuhan shut down, many of our suppliers shut down right along with that. Then as the virus spread throughout Asia, through the spring of 2020, much as Bill experienced, we saw suppliers in places like Malaysia, the Philippines, Vietnam, who the local governments reacted really strongly and often completely shut down cities, much like Wuhan did, in order to try and get control of the virus. So that created a tremendous disruption in supply of a number of components during that time frame. Then, really through, spring of 2020, Wuhan started to open up. The rest of the countries in Asia that had been severely affected started to open up and resume normal operations. And at that point, we were able to collaborate with those suppliers and really leverage the relationships that we've developed with those suppliers over time to really get to the top of the priority list and get resupply of those components so that we could satisfy our customer needs. So, as both Bill and I experienced, then our demand went down. But then as we've entered into 2021, we found that for many, many commodities, especially semiconductors, lead times have extended from what used to be 4 to 6 months now to 12, 15, even in some cases 18 months. So
Yep.
we are actually having to try and anticipate our customer demand a year to a year and a half out in order to try and position ourselves to meet customer demands. In the meantime, what happened with transportation back and forth between here and other parts of the world? Well, there weren't many international flights. And many of us know that those international flights transport not only people, but they transport a tremendous amount of freight. So as those flights were canceled just because there was no demand, freight capacity became heavily constrained. So we were unable to fly materials between here and Asia, between here and our mothership back in Japan. We've been working, and what capacity was available became much, much more expensive. So to try and mitigate that, we've been putting more and more freight on the ocean, but now we're running into those same constraints of limited capacity on ocean freight, extraordinarily long lead times to move product from Asia to the US. And even after it arrives in the US, there are tremendous backlogs at the ports that, putting all that together, it's often taking 8 to 12 weeks to move product from Asia to our facility here in Richardson. And it's a lot more expensive as we're doing that. So every day is a new day, and every day is really a new fight to make sure that we're at the top of our suppliers list when they make their decisions on who is going to receive these critical components.
Yep, true. Yep, I'll echo that. It's what kind of presence can we get in front of our suppliers making sure they understand the criticality of the parts that we're making. And then same experience, I've got UPS contacts and DHL contacts on speed dial because getting things moved is very difficult. And just to add the tale of woe, right? During all of this, we also had Brexit, and we have 3 facilities in the UK. So just getting things out of the UK became a challenge.
Okay, so kind of pivoting to another subject here. One of the questions we like to ask with growth and mobility is, are y'all hiring? And if so, for what types of positions?
Yeah, we are hiring. Actually, we have a number of technical positions open to support the expansion of our 5G radio business, as well as a number of software development positions right here in Richardson. So we're really excited about that. And if you know anybody, send them our way, because we'd love to talk to qualified candidates.
And then
Yep,
I guess,
and then we are hiring as well. We're hiring operators. Our wafer fab is growing again. So we've got some pent up demand that we're trying to cover. About 20 positions there, and then technical talent, semiconductor, and then also supply chain talent, as well as some, as we've rebranded as AST, we're looking at people in our marketing and offering management.
so does Fujitsu and Honeywell usually work with UTD or the Dallas College on that talent that you're all looking for?
Yeah, we definitely work very closely with UTD. We have a number of our senior management team who participate on various advisory boards. We hire a lot of interns out of UTD, and we also collaborate extensively with their placement office to recruit, from the graduates coming out of the University of Texas, Dallas.
We're actively trying to get UTD into the Honeywell network. So I work for Mother Honeywell, right? So there are selected colleges that we've targeted for internship programs. We had myself and Sarah Martin had a meeting with the mayor, and we sold UTD on our president. So we're getting UTD added to that list of colleges.
Well, that's great. Are y'all, which kind of goes to the next question. I hear y'all talking about internships and students, and I know probably last year there wasn't a whole lot of that. Are those virtual, or are they in person, or what are y'all, as far as work and internships, how are y'all doing that this year?
So our administrative functions are still, for the most part, work from home. We're really looking to this fall to begin bringing those administrative functions back on campus. Most of my organization, since it's supply chain and we've got to put our hands on stuff, most of us, including me, have been right here on campus throughout.
Yep. Yeah, supply chain didn't get a day off. So the supply chain's been here the whole time. Our internship program, we paused for a year, essentially. We do have a new crop of interns starting right now, actually, and we're doing a rotation, half-time work from home, half-time work in the office, to kind of ease back in for our leadership team, internships, the front end of the business, if you will. And so, I'm joking with everybody coming in, oh yeah, welcome back, and new hire, do you have a badge, and all that stuff. So, it's kind of fun to rib them a little bit.
Well, I think that's what we're seeing a lot of, even here where I'm at. We have a hybrid environment. So that's what I'm hearing a lot. And I would imagine running a wafer fab requires that people are there.
Absolutely. Yep. It's hard to do that remotely. Yeah.
It is hard to do that remotely. So one thing I want to kind of add to everyone is that if you have a question, I forgot to mention this, you can just put it in the chat function and we'll ask it after when we get time to do that. One of the other questions that I had, on products or services that you buy or lease locally, are there any that come to mind that you rely on locally? Sounds like you've shifted a little bit from more of a global to more of a local presence just to control the supply chain. But is there anyone that comes to mind that you work with?
Yeah, for us, actually, we buy a lot of fabricated parts locally. Companies like Humanetics actually in Dallas proper. We buy from Multi Metals out in Rowlett and All Metals Fabricators up in Allen. All three of those companies supply a lot of our fabricated parts.
Mhm.
And we're really pleased to have them as our suppliers.
Yeah, for us, in particular with the wafer fab, we use RTE, Reactive Technology EPI, I think is their latest. And they're in Allen, Texas. So they make the epitaxy layers for us. So we basically have parts going back and forth between our two sites on a daily basis. We also have a very strong partnership with Texas Instruments. We actually have some what we call co-process products, where we're using Texas Instruments to make the IC portion of the chips, and then we're doing the sensing technology on top to make a brand new application. So those are probably our two strongest partnerships locally.
Well, these are the questions that I had. Is there anything that y'all would like to add about what's going on with your business right now and what you see going forward?
I think that one thing I would add is that really it's something that we knew all along, but our experience over the past year or so has reinforced how important it is to maintain strong relationships with our suppliers, also strong relationships with our customers. As Bill was mentioning, as we've worked with our suppliers, it's critical that our suppliers understand which of our needs are really the most critical so that they can focus their efforts there. It's also been critical for us to collaborate with our customers so that we could really understand where they were with respect to consuming our products today and in the future. And all of this has just reinforced how critical those relationships are for us and how critical trust is at all parts in that collaboration. Also internally for our supply chain folks who have been on site, it really has been critical for us to maintain the trust of our employees so that they felt safe. They felt that we as a company were looking out for their best interest, and that we were going to behave in a manner that protected their personal safety as we work to satisfy our customer demands.
I think that last point's a really good one, especially here for the Richardson site. We didn't have anyone really get sick. We had very few quarantines. People took it seriously, and a lot of that had to do with the products that we made, the communication that we had with all the way from our supply chain all the way through to the customers on the urgent need for, the ventilators, respirators, oxygen concentrators. We call them life-saving lots that were running through our line, and people really stepped up. And when it was with our employees here, they said, they were very appreciative of how serious we took it, and they felt safer at work than really going anywhere else other than their home. And that's the kind of environment that we wanted to have. But yeah, the relationships are really important, and some of I would say the higher Honeywell bureaucracy, if you will, is kind of waking up to those relationships, because a lot of it's happened because of the relationships that site leaders or supply chain leaders had with individual suppliers or customers. not necessarily the Honeywell name, or, you know, we're a big company, so you have to pay attention to us. It was those interpersonal relationships.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that we all felt that way. And one of the questions, and I think that's become apparent, you know, I think that we were all so online and moving forward, and then all of a sudden when all this stopped, it made us all stop and appreciate personally and professional relationships and working with people and the people who helped us get things done. So I know here at Glen Garver, we felt that, and moving forward and helping our clients. So one of the questions that I have from Judy Fishpaw is if Barrie knows at this time when travel to Richardson will begin. So I don't quite, I'm trying to understand that a little bit, but I thought Barrie might understand it a little better than me, so.
Well, in terms of a return to campus for our administrative functions, we expect that that will take place this fall, but we also expect that long-term, we're going to be adopting a hybrid work methodology. So probably most of our workforce is going to continue with some amount of work from home. And hope, you know, based on the feedback that we're getting from our employees, the vast majority of our employees are really excited about that. And, you know, we're optimistic that it's going to provide, you know, a better work-life balance for all of our employees moving forward.
And then we just had one comment from Jenny, thanking y'all for being engaged at UT Dallas and, you know, welcoming y'all to come to the Economic Development Summit on November the 11th that they have. So they would love to see that, how they can drive partnership and development in North Texas. We do
Yeah,
have,
if you could send me your contact information, you know, anyone that's from UTD on, I'd love to get I have a new HR leader for the business. I'd love to get them in contact with the university.
Thank you. I'll connect with the Richardson Chamber to get your contact info so that we can connect.
yeah, that was
Yeah, I
one.
dropped my contact info in the chat, so you
Oh,
can
perfect.
feel free to reach out to me. Yep.
Fabulous. Thank you.
And Barrie, if you don't mind sharing your information as well, we've had some people wanting to know how to contact both of Bill and Barrie.
Sure.
If you don't mind doing that, well, that would be great.
Deborah, this is Mayor Velker. I just wanted to chime in quickly. Bill, Barrie, it's good to see you both again. I just wanted to compliment you on the heavy lifting you've all done in your respective industries over this last 18 months. It's not been easy. But I think it's important everybody understands that you two represent a significant kind of backbone of what is the technology industry in Richardson. Bill, you mentioned TI, Honeywell. I mean, it's the legacy of the Silicon Prairie. It's right here in this area. And of course, Barrie, you know, it's telecom corridor. And the common denominator between the two of you is you actually make things here. And that's really important and something we all should be very, very proud of. You know, there's an awful lot of things that are done offshore. In the context of today's conversation around supply chain, especially in the technology sector, semiconductor and beyond, I think we've all woken up to how important it is to have a domestic supply. And I hope that as we move beyond the pandemic, that lesson does not get forgotten. And whether it's infrastructure spend that governments do or economic development policy that we put in place, I will use both of your companies as examples of why doing it here makes sense and how it can be world-class products. And so thank you for doing this today and for what both of your companies do for our city.
Thank you, Paul. And
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
really appreciate the comments and appreciate all of the support that you give us.
Well, I know that I've learned a little bit today on from both of y'all, and I do appreciate you spending your time and sharing with us what your company's been up to. I know that we've always had a strong technology group here in Richardson, and now I know a little bit more details about it. So that is great to hear. If no one else has any questions, I'm going to ask John Jacobs to give us an economic update.
Oh, Deborah, thank you very much. Boy, really appreciate everybody who's come to the event today. Really good turnout. Two outstanding gentlemen here we've had with us. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that. We've not only got the mayor here, but we also have the mayor pro tem, Janet Depew, and good to see you as well. One of the things I want to do is introduce, we have a third tri-chair now to our group. Of course, we had Tyler Farrer has been with us for a while. He's with Texas Bank and Trust, our sponsor. And of course, Deborah Carroll from Bland Garvey. And then we have Dan Warfield. Dan, wave your hand if you're still there. He's a senior vice president with Half and Associates. So it's great to have Dan on board as well. And we're looking forward to some future programs that will be of interest. Our next program will be in September, and we haven't made the final decision yet as to whether or not it will be a virtual program like we've been doing for over a year now, or it will be something that we can do in person. So we are doing some of our chamber meetings publicly starting in late August. So there's a possibility by September that we'll be able to get together somewhere.
Just quickly, John, while you were introducing people, I didn't want to leave out Arifin Shamshal, who is also now a new member of our city council, is also on. So thanks, Arifin, for joining. Yes. Arifin, would you like to say a few words? I don't know that a lot of the people here are familiar with you, but we need to get you more publicized so folks will know about our new council members.
Thanks, John, and thanks, Mayor, for introducing me. I thought that, I don't have to do anything, I thought I'm just quiet, don't have to say any word, but now you put me on the spot again. No, thank you. I think this is a, great learning process for me, and good to know that there are so many people. I knew that there are so many people are doing so many good things, and this is another thing that that two companies are doing, and we really do appreciate. And definitely, we need all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to have you on board. So I told Deborah if we have some time left at the end, I don't know that we've really had a good economic development work session, which was kind of a feature of this program. At the end of the program, we would talk about expansions, relocations, and provide even a list of those companies. This has been, of all 25 years I've spent in Richardson, this has been the strangest in terms of the actual results that come out of our economic development efforts. And we got Amazon in late 2020. That project was finalized and announced. So that one's going on. The other large project that we announced in November of last year was the CBRE taking over 100,000 square feet of space in Richardson for their back office operations. But so far this year, there is one project that's actually a pretty good project that we have finalized, and it's actually a distribution operation for a medical supply company that is out of Monroe, Louisiana, and the name of the company is AOS, AOSS Medical Supply. And there's it's kind of a family-owned business out of Monroe. They are purchasing a building at 2700 Shiloh Road. It's on Shiloh, south of Renner, and you really have to kind of look for it to find it. But it's a rather large building. It's about 76,000 square feet or so, And they plan to start moving into that space in August. So very soon now they'll start moving in and getting ready to operate there. So I did a little bit. I had a chance to talk to the owner of the company. His name is Eric Liu, and interesting background. The gentleman's from Kuala Lumpur originally and came to the U.S. Many decades ago. Started this little medical supply business in Monroe, Louisiana, and now, amongst other things, they are the largest user of FedEx freight deliveries in the state of Louisiana. So they must be moving a lot of medical supplies. So we'll look forward to meeting them and perhaps having Eric on a future meeting that we do here. So that's really kind of it. I will tell you that we do have 3 or 4 projects that are just literally on the lip of the cup. One of them is a corporate headquarters relocation, and some other really exciting, some big things potentially in the innovation quarter. So stay tuned. Hopefully by September, we'll be able to talk about some of those projects, and hopefully some of them, the leases will be signed and the companies will have made the commitment.
Hey, John, I had the pleasure of going over to West Coast University this morning. They're just about done with the build out of that KDC building that they're in now. And boy, it's going to be state of the art, as I said in a Facebook post earlier. And we had executives from California come in today to as a check on the final work being done. But boy, it's a really good example of adaptive reuse of a facility. And it's going to be very impressive. And I know at the end of September, they're going to have a grand opening and classes start in August. So, you know, they could have, 2,500 students working out of there or more, depending on how they have it organized. So this is for healthcare, mainly nursing, and offering full degrees, including master programs out of the West Coast University. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting, and they have really embraced the community. One of the first things they did is to connect with the city and with the chamber and so forth. They want to be very involved, and they do have just a magnificent facility. I'm looking forward to being able to tour it, but they have generously said that, hey, we'll be able to use that facility for some of our meetings. So we may be doing a growth mobility meeting at some point next year in the West Coast University facility. I didn't know much. I really never had heard of West Coast University until this project came about a year or so ago. But it turns out that they started many years ago, I think in the 30s in Los Angeles, and they supply, get this, 25% of all of the nurses in the state of California come out of West Coast University. And boy, if there's anything we need these days, it's great nurses and paramedical people as well. So
it's pretty interesting. They're actually a private company, family owned. So it's an interesting business model.
Great addition. Mayor, do you or Janet, do you have any other kind of notes of city interest that you'd like to pass along?
Let me unmute myself, Mayor. So I want to.
I don't have my notes in front of me.
Tagging on one of Mayor's comments as well as Deborah's in relation to the 2 gentlemen that spoke this morning. With the COVID numbers increasing, do you see the supply chain? Is your feeling that the supply chain could get worse? I mean, I am total agreement with the mayor and the other gentleman that having some of this done locally would be a great thing to do, and I commend you both for pushing that local activity. So I'm curious to know if you feel that are you planning for this? Do you see any rumblings that this will get worse as far as supply chain goes? Barry, Bill?
I would classify it more as a continuation of tough times. So, you know, I know a lot of industry is coming out and recovering, but the supply chain is really empty, right? And so we're refilling all the way through. You know, you guys, I'm sure you've heard of all the car shortages and things of that nature. So what I would say is it's a continuation, not necessarily a backsliding, but a continuation of the problem. So it's just delaying the recovery, if you will.
I work in real estate, and so I know all construction is way behind. And I took a few days off and had issues with finding a rent car. I mean, it's amazing how this has traversed through so many industries. And I do think it's important for us to continue to look at the domestic production a little bit more closely. So I really enjoyed your program this morning and your update, John. That's great. I'm excited to see. I'm going to go to the breakfast for the West Coast University at the end of September. I'm very excited to see what they've done with that building, and they've been very generous in their outreach, and so it's exciting to have a company come into Richardson that's excited to be here and wants to get involved already. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Yeah, just to follow on, Bill, you'll find this interesting. My boss is actually trying to buy a car, and the sales guy said, well, you really want to buy the 21 if you're thinking about waiting for the 22, because some of the features that are in the 21 standard are not going to be in the 22 because of the electronics that are available or not available. So certain cameras may not be standard offerings anymore, and other sensory type stuff. So I'm sure, this is all back to your supply chain challenges, right? So the large OEMs for the manufacturing automobiles are paring back what is in the standard product so that they can hopefully build stuff and sell it without letting it sit on some port somewhere because they don't have the sensors to put in at the last minute before it hits the dealership. So it's really challenging out there right now in so many ways. And of course, Janet and I and Arifin are in the midst of budgeting right now for the city. And we're looking at the consumer price index, we're looking at the construction price index, and it's not pretty. So it's almost a perfect storm that Barry and Bill pointed out today, and that you've got revenue slipping, which is never good, and you've got costs going up. You're carrying more, or you'd like to carry more inventory. Your work in process isn't pretty. So there's a lot of strain that business is going through right now, and from a governmental standpoint, we're sensitive to that. That's all I have.
Very good. Anybody have any general economic development questions? We got about 5 minutes or so, but we don't really have a chance to talk about economic development as much as I'd like to sometimes. So I'm wide open. If anybody has a question that is not a military secret, then I'll be glad to answer it.
John, I do have one question. What do you see in the office environment? Do you see a lot of people coming? The freeways, highways are getting full again, but do you see that equate to increased leasing of office space or people going back into work full time?
Boy, I tell you, Janet, that is a great question. And I have talked to a number of HR professionals they're very concerned. They're actually, many of them are losing employees who are insisting that they want to work full-time at home, and other competitor companies have offered a job to these work-at-home folks, and they're leaving. And so there's a mad rush right now to replenish the ranks of a number of companies here in Richardson. And so how does that translate into office space and occupancy and leasing, which is all very important to Richardson's tax base, is still somewhat of an open question. Some real estate people that I've talked to think that companies are actually going to use more space than they have in the past because things have to be more spread out and can't be as concentrated as they were at one time. So there's different thoughts on the demand for office space, but we're getting into that part of this long story that has to do with a brand new way of working. Even here at the Chamber, we've been doing kind of a hybrid work schedule, and we're trying that out and seeing how that works. A lot of the things that we do here at the Chamber are simply emails or phone calls or other things that you could do from home. But I think when we get back to those in-person meetings, then it's going to be a lot more important to be in the office and be connected with other people. So, but I tell you what, we're going to get some answers here, and I'm just really curious to see how all these workforce issues settles out, because just like somebody just threw all the marbles up in the air and they're landing in different ways. So,
yeah, I think Bill and Barrie kind of are typical of the answers I'm hearing from most of the larger employers. There's going to be a hybrid model of, late summer, fall, into early next year. You'll see maybe things back to 60-70%. If we look at companies like State Farm, they're just now literally coming back into the office, and they're going to ramp up over time. I think maybe for a future discussion, John, it might be interesting if we could get somebody, the actual people on the analyst side from CBRE and RealPage. I mean, they're the who's who of that marketplace in the context of both multifamily on RealPage's side and CBRE with the commercial properties mainly. And when their analysts speak, I'm dating myself when I say this, but they're like the E.F. Hutton of the industry for commercial and multifamily residential. And so it'd be neat to have an analyst from each of those groups maybe come on something like this and answer questions like that and do some forecasting. And the harsh reality is they're both major employers in the city of Richardson. So that'd be interesting too.
Yeah, great idea. Thank you. What else? What puzzles you about economic development?
John, we did have a question from Bob Cronbach on the timeline for Amazon to be finished.
Okay. I don't know if there's a definitive timeline. If you've been out to the property, they have started working on their facility, and I think it's going to be something like 150,000 square foot type of light industrial building. And I think if you don't know kind of what Amazon is planning, they will have this facility will handle package deliveries within a 45-minute radius. And simultaneous to the one in Richardson, they've also are building one in Frisco. And so this is simply because of Amazon's business, the volumes are growing, and they need to be able to have more kind of sub warehouses to distribute all of the packages and so forth. So my guess is that since they've just started fairly recently, it's going to be at least to the end of this year and probably first quarter, maybe even second quarter of next year before they have that operation up and running.
Yeah, I don't know if Sean or Shanna or I see Don is on. I don't know if we have an anticipated time for a certificate of occupancy for them, but it's probably a year.
Yeah, Mary, this is Don Magner. Good afternoon, everyone. I would say it's probably still a year from now or so. They were anticipating about a 15-month construction schedule from start. So I would say a year to maybe even, 13 months or so from today.
Very good. Well, I see we're on the 1 o'clock time frame. So once again, want to thank all the folks for being here today. It was a really good program and a great turnout. And we will definitely be back with you when we decide whether we're going to do it virtually or do one of those in-person meetings in September. And I hope we can do it that way and be able to shake your hand and trade some stories with you. So thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks
all.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.